Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Out of Seek and Destroy is a grade 3 winner. What I particularly liked about this colt is he's got a great strong shoulder, a very strong hip, and when you watch him walk for a horse that has this weight, he's actually got a phenomenal athletic movement to him. So we're going to have him walk and kind of show you how all this physical works together with the horse himself. So typically for a yearling of this size, with this type of weight and muscle and bone, you don't see a horse that's this light on his feet and this athletic. As you watch him go by, he uses every piece of himself really efficiently. He stretches for ground with his front feet. He really pushes off with his hind feet. When you watch him turn, which is a big piece, he's actually very light on his feet as he turns. There's no sloppy movement there. He knows how to use himself, so there's a lot of athleticism with this horse. He's by Warfront, who's a very good sire training, but it's a phenomenal physical of a horse. You can't really fault him for much.
Colt here by Warfront, by the sire of 3 champions, Grade 1 winning colts such as Lines of Battle, War of Will, Omaha Beach, and Air Force Blue.
Now 25, now 15, 50, 75, 75, 75, 75, not 3, 75, 350, 75, 75, 4, 75, 4, Trey's in, 75, 4, 100, 25, 25, 425, 425, yeah, now, I've got 400 in the back, 425, 425, 425, 425, 425, 425, 50, 425, 450, 425, nobody anywhere, 425, 50, nobody gotta go, 425, 50, 70, 500, 475, 500. You want back in back there?
I have to outspend somebody else.
I think I said, I don't like to take credit, but I think I said it best myself once when someone said to me, trust me. I said, there's only 2 people in the world I trust. One's me, the other one's not you. So, yeah.
All this and more on Unfiltered on Past the Wire TV.
Well, it is here, the big day of the Saratoga meet, Travers Day. We spoke a little off camera and are in agreement that it's a Breeders' Cup type card, at least the stake races for sure.
There's the stars are out in full force. There's some great races with champions, former champions, soon to be champions, the whole gamut, and only 2 5-horse fields, which
Right.
I was excited about. I was happy to see that.
I agree 100%. I think it's an interesting card for me personally, and I could see some people say, well, you could be looking at a lot of favorites, and I get that. But for me, it turns out, based on some of my opinions, to be a good betting card, at least the back end of it, and those big stakes leading up into the Travers. So I'm not discouraged by the potential chalk that we may see in some of those other races, and I'm not so sure that we will in some of them. So that's always good. I mean, Jackie's Warrior, I think we spoke when he ran last time, is tough to get past, and once again I think he is extremely tough to get past. Did you see any possibility around him that made any sense?
Around him, no. There's maybe a couple other favorites like in some of the other races, but man, he's just in a different league right now. When you've got that dominating speed that he has, so you can just like manhandle the competition early, and then he still has tons left. He's just a special horse.
I agree, especially now that they've committed just to making him as a sprinter and a one-turn type of horse. He's really awesome. And he can, I agree. I think he does whatever he wants with that field. I couldn't get past him. The one thing I will say is, what jumps out a little at me, and I don't know that he could beat him without, him taking a misstep. But Baby Yoda is a horse that just also, I mean, Jackie loves Saratoga, but so does
Yeah.
Baby Yoda. His Saratoga record just kind of jumps off the page at me. Anyway, I just think, he obviously likes that racetrack. So, is that enough? Probably not. But he is 3 for 3 at Saratoga and does run best races there. So, if I was gonna go too deep or go, well, I wouldn't. I would bet against Jackie if I was going to, but if I was going to, that's probably where I would land, just because he likes the racetrack that
Yeah.
much. But
Somebody said that. I kind of like the other the other Mott. There's the other Mott, but he's going to be probably the second favorite, the 5-horse Cody's Wish. So
yeah,
he just kind of looks like a obvious second choice. But I don't know, the early pick 5 didn't hold a lot of intrigue for me. But I agree with you. Some of the races later on.
yeah,
Definitely
I agree about the early pick 5. I mean, even the stake before the 4 go. I looked at it long and hard, and I had a hard time really wrapping my arms around anybody in there. You know what I mean? It was just a race. I thought, well, I'll watch it and kind of see what happens, but I didn't have any strong opinion there. You?
Not particularly. No, it just looked like one of those races that Chad Brown's probably going to win. Technical analysis. That's the race you're talking.
Yeah.
The 4th race, yeah. I mean,
He's got three.
Chad,
He's
he's
got
got
3 out
three
of
of
the
the
5.
5. I know it's kind of, yeah. No, I'm not going to say anything clever here about that race whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Now, one thing I think is a little interesting on the Travis card, and we know I'm not a stat guy. I've said that before, but I do look at them. I just don't live by them. And I do believe that rules were made to be broken, and I'm going to break one later when we talk about it. But one thing I will say that I found interesting is that of the riders riding into Travers, I think that combined, they've got like 30 something mounts, and none of them have ever won it. So somebody's going to get their first Travers win. And of the trainers, I think they've got like 30 something runners, and the only guy that's won it is Brad Cox. So he's trying to go back to back, and he won last year with Essential Quality. So into Travers, there's not a lot of quote Travers winners as far as trainers and jockeys. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it plays that way multiple years or not, but I thought that was an interesting little tidbit in that race. And we might as well talk about that and get that one out of the way. What do you think?
I'm trying to figure out, the how the race is going to set up, because if I'm going to try to find, horses who aren't Epicenter in there, because obviously Epicenter is going to be the favorite. I think he's overbet because of circumstances. It's an interesting race. I'm not against him per se, but I'm against what the price is going to be, because it's based on his reputation and not necessarily on what he's done. He's lost a couple of races that you can say it was bad luck. You could say that he probably should have won them. You can judge it whatever way you want. I mean, it's your decision. It's your money you're putting forward. I don't hand the race to him definitely on a silver platter. I think early voting, I don't know what happened to him in that last race, but he looks like the controlling speed once again, but he was definitely disappointing. I thought Zandon was a little disappointing, not as much so as early voting in the last race, but I wasn't too into either of them. You know who I actually like, if I was wanting to get excited about a new face, is the 5-horse Artorias, the other Chad Brown horse.
Right.
There's it's a lot to ask. I mean, he is like, where was he when all the big races were happening? Where was this horse? Because
had some shin problems. But just
he waits on them, right? Chad will just give them time, but he's a nice horse. Like he has the looks of being something really interesting. We'll find out more because he hasn't really faced anybody yet, but we'll definitely know more. So for a new face, I found him a little interesting in there.
I agree. I think it's a big ask for him to jump up and win this race. And I would go as far as to say he might be at the end of the year or later on, the nicest 3-year-old in that race. Okay, he definitely has that potential. But to win on Saturday, I think is a big ask. Not that he can't, but I think it's a big ask. I, believe it or not, like early voting a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can tell you why. Last time in the Jim Dandy, I agree, he was extremely disappointing. And I remember I liked him that day. That's when you know, some people thought I was going to like Zandon because I liked him in the Derby, and I didn't. I liked early voting because I really thought he was going to take it to him, beat a controlling speed, beat a pace, and have a good chance to go wide. And I think that again. Now, why I don't turn off of him off the collapse like a soup sandwich race that he ran in the Jim Dandy is was early in the meet, and we have already spoken about that. The track was heavy, it was tiring, it was deeper, it was playing very, very different. He was coming off a layoff from the Preakness into the Jim Dandy, and as great as Chad is off the layoff, he did say that he went a little easy on that horse, and after he folded the way that he did, the plan was not to run him in the Travers. Okay, they regrouped and said, you know what, no good. And they worked him twice. He worked progressively better. And, you know, the comment was, you know, he's kind of bringing us to the race. We're not bringing him. He's doing so much better than he did in the Jim Dandy. I figure that combined with a completely different racetrack that he's going to see on Saturday, as opposed to what he saw on Jim Dandy Day, I can easily envision him running them off the heels. And we already know that if he gets the trip and jump on Epicenter, he can beat him because he did so in the Preakness. Zandon has ran against Epicenter 3 times, and Epicenter's got him all 3. So he really has to turn, turn the tables. Early voting, no, I'm going to give him a pass on that fold and say different circumstances, tighter horse, same pace advantage. I hope Jose gets a little bit more aggressive and just goes and just tries that run them off their heels approach. And, and maybe he will. Maybe he say, hey, I got nothing to lose. I collapsed last time. If I collapse again, so be it. And if Epicenter inhales him like he did last time, I mean, he made that easy, wide move and just inhaled him. I could see that happening. I won't be shocked, but I think early voting is a good play, because when you look at the field, you got Cyberknife. Cyberknife will be shorter than him. Yeah. Rich Strike won't be shorter than him, but he'll take a lot of, shall we say, recreational money from people at Saratoga that know, oh, this horse won the Kentucky Derby. Let's bet $2 on him. He's a long shot again. So he's going to draw some support. Artorias is the wise guy horse, going to take plenty of money, be shorter. Epicenter, I agree with you. I think he'll be shorter than the 7-5 morning line. I expect him to be even money, 4-5 at post time. And Zandon is another kind of wise guy horse that a lot of people have been on and is highly regarded. So I've got early voting to 4th, 5th choice in an 8-horse field, and he's going to be winging it on the front on a track that's playing very different than when he ran on it for the Jim Dandy. So I make him very, very dangerous, and I'm going to take my shot there and just ride him on the front end, and know that it's dangerous, and I could get inhaled, but also know that I'm dangerous on the lead, and they're going to have to run and get me. So I'm hoping that they don't take the position, hey, let's try and sit off somebody, let's not come out running and play the break and see how it goes. I'm hoping that Jose says, you know what, go. Bing, go. Yeah. I've got 2-3 lengths into that first turn. And a lot of times, people will argue this with me, but I think you as a handicapper will agree. I like speed horses going 7, sometimes more than going 6. I like speed horses going 1.25 miles, sometimes more than 1.125 miles, because it's a little bit more relaxed, you know. And even if the splits aren't all that much slower, which sometimes they're not, it's still more of a relaxed run, so to speak. You know what I mean? They're not as keyed up sometimes when you give them that little early, or you know, that little extra distance. So I like early voting. I think he's going to make a race of it this time. And when you look at his PPs, the other thing that I like is, you know, if you toss that flop, he never ran a bad race.
No.
All his races were good before that. So, you know, maybe he was a little short. Now, rules. I told you I don't believe in rules. I don't believe in stats. But one of the things that I've been successful with over the years is I always try and gravitate, if possible, to a horse in the Travers that has won over the track. So a lot of times it's an allowance winner earlier in the meet, or the Jim Dandy, or of late Curlin, you know, since they, you know, started that race. It's not that old, but, you know, I usually look for one of those, but that just didn't work out this year. So I don't live by those rules. You know what I mean? I'll take the horse that flopped over the track in this particular case. But something interesting that I look at, and I don't, again, live or die by the sheets, but I do look at Thoroughgraph. And there's an interesting observation on Thoroughgraph, okay? And I haven't put my finger on why yet. And usually I'm pretty good with this. Usually when I see a horse race, I can usually tell you what they're going to get on Thoroughgraph and rags. And I'll be right 99 out of 100 times, okay? And I was pretty off in the Jim Dandy, and that surprised me. And one of the things that surprised me is in the Jim Dandy, Epicenter, who looked like he was, you know, far off the pace, okay, saved ground early, but then made a, you know, when the real running started, he went very wide. I mean, really wide, and lost a lot of ground, and it didn't matter. He inhaled them. Well, he run a 2-1 actually on Thoroughgraph, okay? Right. Zandon, who he beat, ran a 1. So Zandon ran a better race on Thoroughgraph. And I would say this, over the years, one of the strongest angles on Thoroughgraph are horses that lost and ran a better number than the horse that won, come back and beat them a very, very high percentage of the time. And when you watch the race visually, there's nothing that I would say visually in the Jim Dandy, and you know I'm a race watcher, I'm a replay guy. There's nothing I see in that race that tells me, you know what, Zandon's going to beat him next time. You know, if anything, it looks the opposite. It looks like Epicenter inhaled him, went wide, didn't have the best trip, shouldn't probably inhale him again, you know. But Thoroughgraph doesn't see it that way, and I find that an interesting observation. And it makes me like my horse more, because I'm not going to live and die by them, but it just shows me that there may be a vulnerability to Epicenter that I'm missing and they're catching, which is why he only got that 2 when the other horse got a 1, and his race was so much more visually impressive, in my opinion. The other thing I'll say, and it makes me like my horse more, is when, and this is not, you know, a key stat, but it's just interesting. If you look at lifetime, what do they say? The Lifetime Achievement Award in early voting is run as fast, you know, as any of you. You know what I mean? On his fastest race, you know, he's a 0 on his fastest race, and a 0 probably wins on Saturday. You know, Cyberknife has done it as well, but I don't like Cyberknife. I just don't get to him. So that makes me like early voting even more, because if he goes back to his best race, his best race puts him in the winner's circle, and I definitely see enough where he can rebound. And maybe I'll really luck out, because it's one of those situations where if he gets overlooked like I think he's going to be, and we'll hurt a little bit of that now with this show, because there's some big bettors who watch this and are on tracking trips that even though I've had a cold Saratoga, they kind of know me well enough that they'll ride with me, especially sometimes when I get cold, because they know eventually it's it's going to. So we may hurt the price a little bit, but that's okay. It's all fair in love and war, and that's all good. But he, you know, he may get overlooked, and maybe we'll luck out and they'll make the track really fast, and it'll be one of those fast, speed favoring big race day tracks that you sometimes see. You know, they've been not doing that as much as they used to. Used to be a couple of years ago, I would have told you, oh, guarantee the track is going to be all souped up and they're going to be running, you know, claimers can run 108, you know, because of, but, you know, they've been getting away from that a little bit. So, you know, maybe they won't, but I do think that there's a possibility. And if that happens during the course of the day, I see that and it goes, then I would probably maybe take a much bigger shot that I'm planning on taking right now.
Well, the track's been tricked that way anyways, the last like two weeks for sure. I mean, it's been playing way more to speed than it was earlier. So right away you're in it. I agree with you on Cyberknife. He's won 2 desperate finishes in a row now. You know, like that's not, that's a lot for him to continue that the way he's been running. That's tough.
I watched the replay of the Haskell a couple of times yesterday, just, you know, preparing for this race. And, you know, I still say Taiba was the best horse coming out of that race. And if they run that race 10 times, I say Taiba will win it 9 of 10, honestly. You know, I like early voting. I think he's worth a serious shot. And again, you know, I see everything about Epicenter's last race. I mean, when I watched that race, and that's one of the things that, like, you know, I like to talk about, and I say when it comes to replays, you know, on Jim Dandy Day, I watched the race live. I watched the replay right after the race, and I'm like, wow, this horse really grew up. He's awesome. You know what I mean? And he's going to be a handful in the Travers. But a couple of weeks later, you watch it again, you look at it with a different eye. You know, you form different opinions. You know, it's not as impressive to me now as it was then. And I think one of the mistakes that a lot of players make is they watch it that time and they get that engrooved in their brain that, wow, he's the one to beat in the Travers, and then the blinkers are on. They just don't see past that, and it's 3 weeks later, and they don't look at the race objectively. And they may be right, he may win, but I think in the long run, that's a mistake.
Yeah, and to me, it's all a function of price. Like, he will, on reputation, be way over bet. Like, he is not 3 to 5, 4 to 5 even odds to win this race. Realistically, if you were to make your own odds line, he may be the best horse in the race, but he's not gonna win, you know, that many times. If you run it 10 times, you run it 100 times, he's just not, because stuff's gonna happen, right? And early voting's gonna hang on or whatever. So to me, it's betting against the price 100%, not 100% more than the horse, but it's really to the price. If somebody says to you, I'll give you 2 to 1 on Epicenter, you kind of say, well, you probably take that, you know, that sounds decent, that price. But if they tell you, I'm going to give you 6 to 5 or even odds, you say, no, I'm good.
If you told me I could have 2 to 1 on Epicenter, or what is he on the morning line? 8 to 1 early voting on the morning line, I would still take it. Of course. I'd go for the 8 to 1 on early voting all day long. That's just me, you know. You know, but you know, I see it. I respect them. I'm not downplaying. And let me tell you this. If I was going to go too deep in that race, or wind up for whatever reason going too deep in it, Epicenter is not the second one I would use. Neither is Arturius. The next one that I would use actually is Zandon, even though Epicenter beat him 3 times. And at some point, you got to just say, hey, he just can't get him. You know what I mean? But different race, different day, different circumstances. I tend to think that Pratt is going to ride a little differently. And I think that might be the difference. I think he's going to take back further.
He's on fire right now too. Like,
he's just really hot.
He's doing now what I thought he was going to do the whole meet, but he was pretty quiet for him. But yeah, he's on fire right now.
Yeah, no, he's definitely come around and is definitely riding better now than he was at the beginning of the meet. And you know, hey, Saratoga's tough. It takes getting used to a new colony, a new track, and a new everything. And you know, one of the things I said about Pratt when he came here is, you know, I thought he'd have a little adjustment period, because in California, I was watching him close, and he was riding a lot of odds-on horses, and I mean odds-on horses in very small fields. And I'm 200 pounds, and I could ride some of those horses and get them home. And I haven't ridden since I was 16 years old, and it was a Western saddle. So when you're riding those kind of horses in those kind of fields, and you're a jockey as good as Flavian is, you're going to win your share of races, and then you move to a different circuit, different kinds of fields, everything different. And I'm sure that as competitive as the riders are, he had a little bit of a target on his back. You don't think that those riders had a little chip on their shoulder? Hey, this guy's not going to come here and just, dominate us. You know what I mean? So I'm sure, they rough rode him a little bit, and, they weren't parting the Red Sea for him every time he was coming down the lane. So there's an adjustment period there. And, he's risen to the occasion because he is an outstanding rider,
Yeah, definitely.
But I do think he takes Zandon back and makes a much bigger late run today, as opposed to trying to stalk like he did in the Jim Dandy. I think he goes back more to the, race we saw in the Derby and the Bluegrass. Doesn't worry so much about, having to be close. I think they're going to take their shot that way, and I think that may better suit him. So he's the one. My money's going to be on early voting. My eye will be on Zandon, because that's the one I'm going to be worried about coming to get me more so than Epicenter. And that may look foolish come 6 o'clock on Saturday, but.
And your heart will be with Rich Strike, because you're a sentimental kind of guy.
No, I'm sentimental, but my heart, I mean, that's, I think he had his day in the sun. And I'm very happy that he did. And,
they got $2 million in the bank. I mean,
right. I won't cry if he wins. He ran, I mean, it'll be a nice story. We'll write about it on Past the Wire, I'm sure. But he's going to have to prove it to me.
But he's not a one-hit wonder. Yeah,
he's going to have to prove it to me. No, I definitely see one-hit wonder written all over him. But hey, horses humble everybody. You never know.
Yep. It's an interesting race. I like the Travers this year. There's a lot going on there.
All right, and you don't think my methodology is insanity? So that's a good sign.
No, not remotely, and not the way Speed's been holding. Not the talent that horse is showing early voting. No, I mean he's 100% eligible to bounce back and just wire the field. If they leave him alone, it could be lights out.
Yeah, and from a wagering perspective and ticket structuring standpoint, standing with him at 6, 7, 8 to 1, fifth choice in the last leg of the pick 5 gives me a lot of room in some of those earlier races.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And it gives me the kind of room where, okay, even if Jack Christopher wins at a short price and Clariere wins at a short price, I'm still okay. You know what I mean? Because going into the late pick 5, when they put the payoffs off, I'm still going to be the 5th highest one. You know what I mean? So how low is it going to be if you have it multiple times? And if I beat a couple of those along the way,
you got a good ticket.
Then you're okay. So I like when it plays out that way. You know what I mean? Like, we spoke off camera. I singled an 8 to 1 shot to start the pick 5 yesterday and couldn't close the deal. But I like it when you start that way, and I like it when you end that way. I really do. I prefer a nice price single in the first leg or the last leg, just for whatever reason. So I like that. It gives me options to get to him. So my plan will be get alive to early voting somehow. You know what I mean? And to do that, I'm going to have to win the sword dance of the race before that. Any opinions there?
No, we have opinions on every race. And you mentioned we have to talk about Clariere too, because I have an opinion.
We will.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're going backwards. We're going.
Why not? Why not? I like it. So the Sword Dancer is a race where I just can't I can't convince myself to get past Aidan O'Brien's horse, Broom. God, he's a lovely horse. He's run against basically the elite in Europe. You start looking, dissecting his best company line, and it's just heads and shoulders. Like he should, barring something unforeseen, he should just handle this field. I I can't get past him. I just don't like anything else.
No, I like him a lot. He's a must use. I'm not going to single him because I don't have to, because of the way
Yes.
I'm structuring my ticket. He's a horse I'll probably go back at, you know what I mean? So I'd have, him. But here's the one thing I will share about him, and I watch it, and I think you do. I watch a lot of the European races, and I remember two interviews, one with Aidan and one with Ryan Moore. Okay, both about this horse. So I've bet and watched several times. I mean, I didn't even have to go back and watch a lot of his replays because I know him very well. And I remember just watching it in June at Ascot when he won the Hardwick with that very interesting wide run that Ryan Moore gave and kept him out.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did hear, both Ryan, who is a very cerebral rider, I've spoken to him, I've met him and spoken to him, and he's an extremely super intelligent guy and super intelligent rider. In addition to his physical talent, he's just mentally really prepared and really astute. And so is Aidan. I've met him and spoken to him as well. Neither one about this horse in particular, but I did hear two interviews with them on separate occasions about this horse, and they both said the same thing, which is very interesting. He can be very moody, and sometimes he just does not want to run. And when he's in that mood, there is just nothing you're going to do that's going to make him give it to you. You know what I mean? And Ryan usually knows it pretty early on in the race. He just says, sorry, not today. And he's very headstrong and stubborn that way, and just sometimes says, you know what? I ain't going to do it. And when he does that, he just doesn't fire. So, and Aidan said the same thing. So that's one possible concern, because with a horse like that, you just never know what mood they're going to be in. But I agree, he's run with some of the best over there, run competitively with the best over there, and on his best day can beat the best over there. And this doesn't really seem like I mean, I know it's a grade 1, and I know, Chad's got horses, Clement's got horses, but it doesn't really look like an A-list kind of race to me. You know what I mean? There's no, really monsters in there.
No.
I love the Damo. Last 2 times he ran, he had trouble on Belmont Day, or I believe he would have won, and then he kind of redeemed himself at Monmouth Park, where I bet him pretty good, even though he was the favorite that day. I think he can take another step forward and improve and be competitive here. And there's an interesting angle on Gufu that I kind of looked at. Gufu improves under 2 circumstances in the past. His first race off Lasix, he tends to run a big one, and when they put the blinkers back on him, he tends to run a big one. And he's coming off Lasix from the last start and taking blinkers and putting them back on since the last start. So those are 2 things in his past performances that have moved him up from the prior race. I look at that, and I look at, that he likes Saratoga, and on his best day can be competitive with the rest of these horses, maybe not with Broome, but if Broome decides not to show up and he decides to show up, he can be competitive with the rest of these horses. So he was one that I looked at using. And there was another horse that I thought was, maybe a cut below, but also maybe on an upswing, and that was Soldier Rising. I don't know that he's this good, and I don't know that he's gonna be this good, but I do believe he's getting better. I may throw him in on a deep spread ticket, and then just go back at the major players. And it could very easily be just wishful thinking, but
Yeah.
I just think he'll
be a price.
He'll be a big price.
He'll be a big price. Yeah.
He likes Saratoga, and he is on the improve, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
that's about the best I could say.
Yeah, it's the Broome for me, but the only other one I was interested in was Adamo, like you. I just think he sits a nice trip on the inside to be able to save all the ground, Pratt seems to get along with him well. So yeah, he seemed kind of like the other.
Yeah, no, those are the two I would
Clean
go
sweep
back
by
at,
Broom.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, clean sweep by Broom.
Look
No,
how well he
Broom,
ran at Del Mar when he shipped over. Like he obviously wanted to run that day, and with the Yabir finishing, those two finishing, Broom and
I
Yabir
thought he
with that
had it
big
won.
finish.
I
Yeah, I
really
know.
did.
I
Yeah,
know.
I thought he had it won.
Yeah, if he does that again, he should crush.
I agree. If he runs back to that race, if he runs back to the Hardwick, if he runs back to the race at Longchamp, to Deep Bond, he's got a lot of races that if he runs back to, he handles these relatively easily. And he's been doing it for a while. You know what I mean? I mean, he's no kid. He's 6 years old. He's been doing it, for a while. So,
Do you think we get 3-1, or is that a complete pie in the sky?
I was thinking about that. I was like, what are they going to do? And I wish I knew. I don't know. I
Yeah.
would love to see that. I'm just not sure. I mean,
That would be
another
a fair
interesting
price.
stat. We're talking stats today, and we're throwing them out there. Aidan O'Brien is 0 for life at Saratoga. He's never won a race at Saratoga. Now, to me, I think doesn't matter. Okay, it's Aidan O'Brien. I don't care where he runs. He's dangerous. You know what I mean? It's a coincidence that he's never won at Saratoga. That's all that means to me. But it is true. He brings this horse. I'm sure that's in his mind. I'm sure it's in Ryan's mind, and I'm sure they'd love to be able to, cross that off their list. And I know they've tried in the past. They took Mendelssohn in for the Travers.
Yeah.
They want to win a race up there for sure. They've got Joseph up there, hasn't won a race yet. I'm sure they'd love to come in and win, and that this horse is showing them all the right signs that he is going to show up on Saturday. How the bettors handle him, I don't know. I think it helps that, they're going to be talking about that offer. Hopefully those guys on the show, what's that? Who's it? Fox and whoever it is, that is it Fox that covers it? I think it's Fox.
Yeah.
Hopefully they bring that up. You know what I mean? I'll tweet it out a couple of times and get it on the radar so they'll start talking about it. You know what I mean? And say, hey, I can't win at Saratoga. Can't win at Saratoga. Can't win. Saratoga.
Method to your madness.
Saratoga curse. Sometimes I do that and they do it and it works. Believe me, I've seen it happen. I'll say something, they pick up on it as some obscure thing, and it works. So yeah, I'll be checking that out Saturday morning. Aidan O'Brien's got the Saratoga jinx, curse, can't win. Maybe we get 3-1, So that's terrible to do, but
yeah, you're bad.
We're gonna do. It's horse racing.
All's fair in love and war and pari-mutuel wagering.
Exactly. So every it's a fight. So it's like when people say, "Oh, you're a dirty fighter," no such thing. When I grew up, they used to bite, gouge, everything. So didn't matter.
Nice.
Personal ensign. We're going backwards. The Clariere race. You wanted to talk about that one.
I do.
Let's hear it.
I actually love Latruska. I love Latruska so much. Every time she runs a stinker, Fausto gives her some time off. She comes back and she crushes. In fact, I figured it out. She's 4 for 4 in that kind of a scenario. After a freshening, she is 4 for 4. She just turns into a different horse. She has the inside. She's the controlling speed. It plays to what the track bias has been playing. It's like right in her wheelhouse. I love Latruska.
Well, I love your scenario, because if it plays out that she goes wire to wire and the trackers are playing fast,
ooh,
that'll make me confident. Early
voting.
So yeah, I agree. I think she's the speed for sure. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he was trying to talk me into believing that search results was going to run with her. And I didn't agree with that. I just, I kept telling him I just don't think so. I think Pratt is going to ride the race to win it. And I think if he rides the race to win it, he doesn't go after her. You know what I mean? I think he's got to save his filly and let her go and hope that he's good enough to go and get her. And I think under those circumstances, like you said, it's going to be very tough to reel her in, because she does come back. Like you said, that's That's a great observation. That's like one of the things I was talking about, those kind of patterns and niches that, where I was like talking about Bufu has that little bit of pattern. Hers was even more profound than him with the blinker change and the coming off lacing. Hers is even more profound off the bad races. He does freshen her and she fires big off those freshenings. And let me tell you, I developed in the past 2 or 3 years since, Fausto Gutierrez came here from Mexico, a huge respect for this guy as a trainer.
He's
He
a
does,
horseman.
right. He did great with all his horses, not just her. He claimed some horses at Gulfstream, won right off the claim with them, moving up, not moving down. I've seen him do it all, fire first time out, everything. I mean, I agree. He is a horseman. And I think over the past couple of years, he did a marvelous job with this mare. Even though she flopped in a couple of races that people really wanted her to win, the Breeders' Cup, when she was having that unbelievable year. But look at the fractions that day at Del Mar. They were going 108. They went 44, 109. You know what I mean? And she didn't get the lead. They were dogging her the whole way. I mean,
and it was her third start. And she just seems to be like her last 2 form cycles. She's 3 and done. She's 2, and then the third race she's done. Like, she just does it. She hasn't been running well on that third start, and then he freshens her. She comes back and she crushes. So I'm hoping history repeats.
Yeah, no, I like it. You know what I mean? I like your opinion there. I'm not going to try and talk anybody out of Latrushka and that at all. So, what about the Alan Jerkins? We're going to have another short price favorite, Jack Christopher, cutting back off the Haskell. Thoughts? I mean, I've got some thoughts.
I want to beat him, but the fact, they're cutting him back in distance, and I just think that is the key. The 7 furlongs, it's right in his wheelhouse. I really tried to make a case for Conager. I like Conager. He's never been at Saratoga, so I think his speed translates really, really well. He crushed Gunite easily when he faced him at Churchill. He's got some ability. I don't know, the disparity in the odds is probably going to be enough that I will play him, just because Jack Christopher is going to be a diseased, I mean, he's 6 to 5 morning line. So seriously, what do we get?
And he's going to be less than that
heavy.
too.
He'd be such a heavy favorite. And I don't think that he's that much the best. I don't think that he's that heads and shoulders above a horse like Conager. So I'm hoping Michael has this horse ready to go, because he's all right. He's an all right horse.
No, I agree. If Jack Christopher runs back to the Woody Stevens, the race is probably for second. But there's a couple of factors, and I normally like cutbacks. Okay, I'm okay with a cutback from 1 1/8 to 7/8, and I think he did run a deceptively good race in the Haskell. I don't think it was as bad as some people are saying. They went fast for 1 1/8. He was, right in there. He wasn't that far behind, 2 nice 1 1/8 horses in the stretch. But when you cut back to a fast 7/8 race like this, and I say fast because you've got some horses coming out of sprints that are keyed up on sprint speed, and he's coming off a route. If he doesn't break that well and doesn't get the ideal trip and set up and, get shuffled around, he may need one race back into sprints in order to see that Woody Stevens type of effort. You know what I mean? So that, that might be a factor. So, fortunately for me, I can play around in these early races. The pick 5, I'm going for a little bit of a swing in the later one. And, if Latrushka wins, she's not going to be the favorite. She might be the 3rd choice in a small field. So, it gives me room here. So would I use Jack Christopher? Absolutely. But Conager is one I look at. I look at Gunite, even though Conager handled him easy at Churchill Downs, he's 2 for 3 at Saratoga, and I'm a big horse for course guy at Saratoga. I thought his last race in the Amsterdam was pretty good. I think he's well drawn outside for a nice, perfect stalking trip. Tyler doesn't have to do anything creative with him. He's just got to let him sit 3rd, 4th on the outside and ask him. He don't have to think. He's just got to get on him and push him down the lane. And the other horse I look at is Accretive, Chad's horse on the outside, who,
Yeah.
you know, it also signals to me when a trainer, especially a guy like Brown or Pletcher or Mott or Shug or Baffert or Mandela, you know, those guys that are on a higher level than some of the other guys, when they run another horse against the other one, the reason that the other Chad wins so much or the other guy, it's because they have good horses and they don't run them where they don't belong. So he's running Accretive here. Obviously, he thinks he belongs. Little light on experience, but that tells me that if Accretive don't win, he obviously doesn't think Jack Christopher is unbeatable. So that opens the door for Conager, Gunnar, maybe somebody, you know what I mean? Because if Jack Christopher was unbeatable, Accretive's probably looking for another spot.
Yeah, why would you?
I mean,
yeah, true.
So you know, I hate to try and handicap people in addition to horses, but I do make observations, and I will play chess if I have to. So Accretive is another horse that I would probably have on my ticket again because of my position in the Travers. I'm afforded that luxury where I might not be on certain other days, you know?
Yeah, I like him too. He reminds me, he's like the other Artorias, right? I mean, he's in a spot where he really has to move up his game, but they're nice horses, and they can, we know how much these young horses can improve from one start to the next.
And I thought, I agree. And when I watch his replay, again, I can't stress it enough. I'm a big replay guy. When I watched, when they put him in the Amsterdam, I thought, okay, this is a tall order for this horse. But when he made his move like he was going to win, like he was going to have something to say. You know what I mean? Like he had every right to belong with this kind of horse. Okay, he came up a little short to Gunite, but I have like a little theory where I'm like, okay, when you throw them to the wolves and they run credible, I'll give him that one. And then when they come back the next time, a little bit more tougher. It's like, I try and relate things to sports. When you take a fighter who's, they line up, and they do this a lot in boxing. They line up a lot of guys they know you can beat. So
tomato cans.
Confident, and you get a good, you're right, tomato cans, right? So you get confident, you get a good 10, 11, 12-0 record, and then they put you in with a real fighter and you get punched in the face for the first time, and everything is different. And a lot of times you may lose that fight, or you may win it really gutting it out if you're really good. But now you've moved up a level, and the next time you fight a real fighter, you're much better. You know what I mean? And I equate that to horses. So, Accretive, and I believe I'm saying it correctly, showed last time with that move and that race, and you can even see it on paper. You don't have to watch the replay to see it, but I think the replay shows it more. But he showed me, hey, this is exactly where I belong. And you'll find it out sooner or later.
Yeah.
So
I wish he had drawn a little further in. The draw is a little rugged. I have to say that.
But at least it's am I right? Let me not talk out of school. Yeah, at least it's 7. So he's got some time to hopefully save a little ground. And Irad's riding very good too. So
yeah.
If anybody's going to get a trip, it's going to be Irad. So, okay, that those are the stakes. Anything else on the card that caught your eye? Me, no. I'm happy just going after the stakes. I'm anxious to watch those other races, but nothing really jumped out at me.
We got to look at the last race, don't we? Because it's
you.
the last race.
You're always the last race.
Race 13, when you've been handicapping for hours and you get to race 13 and you see 9 horses going a mile in the inner, fillies and mares, and you're like, oh boy. But you know what I do? I like a couple in there. So I'm kind of riding the closing bias has been pretty strong. The rain was good. That the turf course got, because you don't want that turf getting super baked and just all speed winning all the time. But I was looking at Parnack in there. I think that it's her second start in North America. So the 1-horse Parnack, which she's sitting at, she's 3-1, so she's not a great price. But a Little Faith was my kind of interesting horse in there, the 8-horse. She's 10-1. I don't love that she's coming off of that scratch. That's my only negative against her, because I think that she's in a spot where she can she can maybe hit the ticket somewhere. I wouldn't put her in the win spot, but I'm taking Parnak over Invincible Gal, who's the likely favorite. But that's about as wise as I got in the 13th. It's going to be a long day, my friend.
Yeah, no, for sure. Parnak was pretty wide last time too.
Probably needed that start too, right?
Yeah, I think so. And let me tell you something. Horses that come from Germany don't get the same respect as the horses that come from Europe, and they can run. They run. Those are some tough horses. I like them, especially in long marathon type races. But the German horses are a lot better than they get credit for. So no argument. Parnak definitely fits in there. And Invincible Gal looks like she needed the last race, but she could have got it done that day too and didn't. So
she'll be a low price again. Another that's the kind of the
might
theme
be
of
a
the
little
day.
vulnerable.
You got to look at at the prices. You have to, and you say, is this horse really okay? This is the most likely winner, but is it a 4 to 5 winner? Or realistically, should it be an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5? That's a big difference. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. So I will ask you this because it starts to pick 5, and it was completely perplexing race to me. But the 7th race, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Eight horses, really 9 because there's an entry, but eight betting interests. And I was like, head scratcher.
I landed on actually, you'll like this angle, the 2-horse Maxwell Esquire. So he's 5 to 1 on the morning line. He was wide last time. Now he draws, to the inside. So hopefully that sets him up well. He's back to a sprint, and he has won at Saratoga. So he's got a couple things going for him. I'm hoping he doesn't get completely buried down on the inside. That's probably my one big concern. It can be an okay spot if things work out. It can also be the worst spot in a turf sprint if you get shuffled back and you don't get a chance to run, especially a horse like him who's more comfortable coming from just off of it. But the Mike Maker's barn has been a little quiet lately. I was actually looking it up this morning because I was thinking I haven't heard a whole lot from Maker, but like in the last 2 weeks, I think he's winning around 15%, but just like around 35% have been hitting the ticket. So just a little quiet for the Maker barn, but he's got a couple of decent ones this weekend. I think he'll win a couple. That might be one of the horses. I like that.
Yeah, I was all over the place. I mean that was certainly one of the ones, but I really couldn't fall in love with anybody.
Discreet Tune loves the trip. I get 5 for 16 going, and I kind of looked at Battle Station too because he's another Saratoga specialist. Right?
Battle Station was the one that I kept coming back. I kept coming back to him. Linda Rice claimed him. He does like Saratoga, likes the distance, has some back class. He's got some races.
He's a cool horse. I like him.
That can win here, and Kendrick Carmouche rides him well, knows him well. Won a stake at Saratoga with him back in 2020. So I thought, he was one that I had to use, but like I said, it was just hard for me to really fall in love with anybody in there. So
yeah, it's a wide open race. There's no doubt. I even looked at the 4-horse Noble Emotion a little bit as one I could see getting there. I wouldn't be completely surprised by that. So Horacio de Paz, he's been quietly getting the wins. He's doing okay. I just thought Noble Emotion showed that little flash of speed last time out. To me, that's always the old signal of impending improvement. He doesn't have to improve a whole lot to be competitive.
I agree. Yeah, no, for sure.
It's a good race. That's a tough race.
It's a challenging race for me because I want to be alive in the pick 5, and I'm not an all button guy. So that's going to be a key race for me. I mean, the favorite's going to be 7 to 2, and I don't even know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. The favorite will be 7 to 2, and I wouldn't want to bet who the favorite is because I have no idea.
It could be any of those ones we just talked about. Definitely. I don't know who the public's going to land on.
Absolutely. Well, interesting day at Saratoga. Weather's good, all good.
Yes,
So
the weather looks fantastic. What a great meet. I mean, there's hardly been any races washed off the turf, and we just
yeah,
like the one day.
just a couple
Yeah.
of days. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and a couple other races, but
the weather's been relatively cooperative for up there,
mhm.
and we know it can be the opposite up there as well. So, um, all right, pretty good. Any other spots that you want to mention, or
That's about it. I think there's the only race early on that I was at all interested in was race number 2. I thought the 7-horse America's Guest was one I wanted to look at. I know Danny Gargan's not winning. He's having a dismal Saratoga this year. It doesn't mean he can't turn around. It's the second time starter on the inner turf. So that was one that I thought had a chance and should be every bit of the 4-1 morning line. I mean, if not higher, because
right?
it's one of those kind of races. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Danny usually does very well up at Saratoga. He usually has
Yeah.
big meets up there, so he's just a little bit cold.
Not
Like
as cold as Rudy.
no, Rudy, yeah, but Rudy did get another win.
He did.
Awfully happy about it off the claim. So oh, one race turns all of that around. So
It can, yeah.
I should not be talking about anybody having a cold meet at Saratoga because
You had a great day yesterday.
I
You're
did,
heating
but
up. You're
it's
heating
been
up.
a rough meet for me, so but we're gonna go down fighting for sure. And I have not conceded this meet to land in the red by any stretch of the imagination. And early voting can change it all. One like that,
Absolutely.
one right shot in a race like that, and in a sequence like that can change everything, and you can wind up winning 6 figures for the meet. So you just never know. So we're going to keep swinging, keep doing what we do, and I guess you and I will reconvene next week. That's a
Yeah,
wrap.
for the end, the finale next week.
Right?
That's
Is
it.
next week the last Saturday?
That's it. That's all.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
last finale show. Okay. Well, until then, ciao for now. Been there, done that. Nobody does it better.